Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Multiple outlets reporting that former Saints first-round draft pick Sheldon Rankins has agreed to a 2-year deal with the New York Jets. He'll earn as much as $17 million over the 2 years. While the terms of the contract aren't disclosed here, that does seem to indicate that it's sort of an incentive-laden deal. Now, I'll remind you that Rankins just finished his rookie contract. The Saints did pick up Rankins' fifth-year option. So this past season in 2020, Rankins made $7.69 million. So a little over $7.5 million. So at $17 million for 2 years, with an incentive-laden contract, again, earn as much as $17 million, it's not that much more. It might even be less in guaranteed money than what he just made in New Orleans, which tells you a couple of things. One, the Saints just didn't see value there. Right? I mean, of course, you would love to retain a guy that at his best is a really good interior player, but was injury prone. And if you're not even willing to offer him in the $7 to $8 million per year range, it does speak volumes about how the Saints evaluate Sheldon Rankins. The Jets are very likely betting on a healthy Sheldon Rankins with an incentive-laden deal. Okay. Not a bad thought. The 2018 Sheldon Rankins was a dominant interior player. He was a Pro Bowl caliber defensive lineman in 2018, and then he got injured in the playoff game. The first playoff game, and then, of course, missed the Nola no call game in 2018 against the Rams. I'm conflicted about this one because the Saints now have seen Trey Hendrickson walk. They've traded Malcolm Brown, and now they've let Sheldon Rankins walk. Now, Rankins wasn't a starter per se. He was a rotational guy because you had Brown and Onyemata as your starters and Hendrickson and Cam Jordan as your ends. But Rankins kind of felt like a starter. He had started games in his career and certainly can be a starter in the NFL. I don't even think that's debatable. But it's conflicting because when Rankins was on the field, he was a very good player. The problem is he just wasn't always on the field. What's the line that Mike Detillier uses here every week? The best ability is availability. And Sheldon Rankins just wasn't available. As a rookie, he broke his fibula. You remember that? In his rookie camp. So he didn't even play until halfway through his rookie year. He only played 9 games his rookie year. Then in his second and third years, in 2017, 2018, he played a full season. But then in 2018, he got injured in the playoffs. The following season is when he had the knee injury and missed 6 games. The ankle injury and missed 6 games. Then this past year, he had the knee injury and missed 4 games. So in total, in his 5 years in New Orleans, Sheldon Rankins missed 17 games. You're basically guaranteed he's going to miss at least 3 games a year on average. 5 years, missed 17 games. The best ability is availability. I would love the Sheldon Rankins that the Saints had in 2018 for 16 games plus a playoff run. He could be a starting player and a Pro Bowl caliber player. He was only 27 years old. Remember, the Saints drafted him when he was very young coming out of Louisville. I believe he was 19 when they drafted him. He was a young guy. He could have been 19, but he turns 27 in April. So you're talking about a really young football player still with physical prime years still ahead of him if he can stay healthy. But I don't know how you bank on that. So there's 2 parts of this. Where do the Saints go? And then assessing kind of where, how you rate Rankins' time in New Orleans. And where the Saints go from here, they've got to use at least one draft pick on an interior lineman. because now you've traded Malcolm Brown and you've let Sheldon Rankins walk. You've got David Onyemata under contract, who is a stud defensive tackle. And they like Malcolm Roach and Shai Tuttle. There's no question. But those players right now are good rotational players and have not proven they can be starters. And you may say, well, how can they prove they can be a starter until they get an opportunity to do it? And there's some truth to that. But if they were good enough from jump to be starters, I feel like they'd be doing that. I gave you the example of Bobby Richardson. When Bobby Richardson was an undrafted free agent and started for the Saints as a rookie undrafted free agent, made a lot of plays, and we're like, hey, Bobby Richardson, look at all the plays he makes. Well, Bobby Richardson's not even in the league anymore. He didn't make the team the second year. I mean, by default, somebody has to make tackles. And just because you're the guy making the tackles doesn't mean that you're a great player, as was the case there. So if Roach and Tuttle get into the rotation, you're going to see their stats increase because they're going to get more reps. But the Saints have got to go find starting interior defensive linemen. Like, I think going into this season at your end spots, Cam Jordan, Davenport, Granderson give you an opportunity that you can say, okay, we can roll with that. Now, Davenport's got the same injury history. Obviously he does, but he's under contract. So you have that guy on your roster. So, but you know he can be a starter as well, provided he can stay healthy. We'll see if he can. But you like those three there. What do you do on the interior? I mean, every level of your defense now has holes. You need interior defensive linemen. You have got to get a weak side linebacker. And then who's going to play cornerback opposite Marshawn Lattimore? And the cornerstone of the Saints over this run, as much as we talk about the offense and Sean Payton being an offensive-minded coach, it's been defense. It's been how they built their defense. Look at what they've done through the draft, building the interior of the line and building up the defense. So can they maintain that with these personnel losses at every level? That's going to be a mighty steep hill for Dennis Allen to climb. Or with a youth infusion at quarterback, do the Saints maybe become more potent offensively and not needing the defense to be as dominant as it was? As for Rankins specifically, because when he was on the field, he was a very productive player, it's hard to look at Sheldon Rankins and say that he's a bust or he's a miss, right, as a player. But if you use a first-round draft pick on a guy and he doesn't get to his second contract, it's hard to say that it was a hit. I mean, let me just give you the comp, okay? So first-round draft picks in New Orleans under Sean Payton that did not get to their second contract. Here's the list. Robert Meacham, Cedric Ellis, Malcolm Jenkins, although that comes with a little bit of an asterisk because Sean Payton has long said that was a gigantic miss. They let Malcolm Jenkins walk. They went and paid Jarris Byrd big money in free agency, and it was a massive miss. That was a massive miss. Patrick Robinson, who's now back with the team, but was a first-round draft pick at corner that never really emerged as a boundary corner. Kenny Vaccaro didn't make it to his second contract in New Orleans. Brandon Cooks and Stephon Anthony. And now Sheldon Rankins. The guys that did or presumably will make it to their second contract, we'll see about Ruiz and McCoy. I'm guessing McCoy will, provided they're here not traded, but Lattimore and Ramczyk are likely going to get extended this offseason at some point. Andrus Peat, Cam Jordan, Mark Ingram. That's it. What's fascinating is that the Saints have had way more success outside of round one. Now, granted, there's 6 other rounds in the draft, but they've had way more success finding its star players outside of round one than they have with their first-round draft picks. I think Sheldon Rankins has to go in that number as well. Not because he's not a good player or could be a dominant player when he's right. But when you miss 17 games over 5 years, it's hard to look and say, yeah, that one worked out. Wish him luck in New York with the Jets. By all accounts, Rankins was an awesome guy, man. Every member of the media that covers that team on a day-to-day basis that had a chance to interact with Sheldon Rankins all says the same thing, that he's a gem. He's great to go to for a quote. He's affable and easy to get along with, and a guy that I think everybody is really going to pull for with the Jets. It's one of those things that's very unfortunate that it didn't work out for him in New Orleans to get to that second deal, especially since the Jets didn't even have to break the bank for him. But it does leave another hole on that defensive line, as the Saints have now seen 3 starting caliber players leave in this offseason. They got work to do. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.